Hello, everybody. So thank you very much for joining us. And I'm Faezeh Mahichi from Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University, the first partner university of IMAT program. And today I'm gonna give about 1 hour talk about sustainable cities, as we call it in Japan, eco towns in Japan. So before starting, let me just show you our student here. So we have about 10. Yes, 10 students. You can see them here. I should be careful not breaking anything. And then some of these students have been with us in actually Germany for attending the IMAT Circular Economy Conference. We just saw two kids, cute kids already here. So she has been behind this. Actually, she has been supporting me. That's why I hope that I can use her guidance and then use this platform for having the talk without any problem. Okay, so shall we start? Yes. So we already have 8 people joining us, and hopefully more people will join. We are recording, and then later I will upload the record and also PowerPoint for the reference. Okay. So if I can figure it out how to change a slide, okay. Then I'm gonna, okay, as we can see, sorry. This is the outline of today's talk. First, briefly, I will introduce myself, and then I will introduce our university, our IMAT program, and then we will talk about the definition of sustainable city, eco-city. I will go through the eco-cities in Japan, and I will introduce one case study of Kitakyushu eco-town. Before that, Mahichi started this, and I really enjoyed the book that he introduced. So I'm going to also introduce a book. This is a very interesting book done by Sternard, and it's about digging. The name is Digging Deeper, and it's talking about creating real values. And it's talking actually about history and showing us what other companies and enterprise are doing to create real values. And this is my recommendation. It's a really, really good read and gives us a little bit of history and the current situation. And I suggest you to take a look at this book. We have it in library in APU. If you're interested, please borrow. And I have my copy as well. So if you don't have it, please buy it or ask your library to have it. So who am I? I'm Mahichi. I'm from Iran. This is the home, actually, I grew up. When I was 5th grade, we moved to this place. As you can see, there are some ponds. These are aquaculture ponds. And around them, we have a lot of trees around this area. So the orange tree, tangerine trees. And these are actually very tall mountains. And one of them, you cannot see it here, is Mount Damavand, is 5,600. And so meter height. And so this is the sunrise over there in my home, the very typical sunrise. And I moved to Japan 19 years ago, 1999. Yes, you're surprised because my Japanese is not that good yet. So I came to Japan 1999. After almost a year and a half, I started my master and PhD, and I studied in this university, Tokyo Institute of Technology. And I did my master and PhD, and after finishing my study, I moved to Beppu. This is our beautiful town in Beppu. And I started working and teaching here and doing some research and enjoying actually collaborating with IFAS as well. And then, so going through our dual degree program with IFAS, as I mentioned, we are the first partner university, and you can see that we are not that far. It's about 9,300 kilometers is directly, but you cannot take the direct direction, right? So you need to take flight. So we are in Kyushu area, this area, and then I will a little bit go toward this. And to have more information about our dual master degree program, I want to invite you to join our webinar. This webinar is going to be this Wednesday. And Dr. Kenneth Michael and me and my colleague from the admission office will give very detailed explanation about our program and scholarship and our university. So please do join us. This is the link. I will send you the PowerPoint, then you can have the link and you can join our webinar on Wednesday. So Japan time will be 3 p.m. So please check what time it will be in your local time. So just a view of our university. We are a university on the top of a mountain, and so the view is very nice. And just tell you that this is the place of birth of the OVOP, One Village, One Product, in our actually prefecture. So Oita Prefecture, the former governor came up with this concept, and he was practicing, and this is the place of the birthplace of OVOP. And very briefly about our university, we are a relatively young university, private university, 18 years old. We have about 6,000 students, and about 50% are international students, and from 90 different countries. And if you add our alumni, it's going to be about 152 different regions and countries. And also our faculty, as you can see, is also about 50% are international faculty, which is very unique. So if you look at the actually profile of the university, this is very unique profile. We do have two college for our undergraduate program, the Asia Pacific Studies and the College of International Management. And in College of Asia Pacific Studies, we have environmental development, cultural society, media, tourism, hospitality tourism, international relations, and peace studies. I'm belonging to environment and development. In our management department, we have accounting, finance, strategic management and organization, marketing, innovation, and economics. Very briefly about our graduate school program, we have two graduate school. One is the management, and the other is Asia Pacific Studies. And we have sustainability science that IMAT is actually under this program, our dual degree master program. We also have doctoral degree program. So then I will put more, actually the detail of our programs will be given on Wednesday's webinar. Please do join us if you are interested. So let me just continue about our university, just to show you what makes APU. APU, we believe that the diversity of our students, first of all, and diversity of our faculties and the staffs as well, it makes APU the unique APU university. We do also have some program for faculties development program. Very briefly, I will go through them. So from 2013, they started that. I also have done this training for the faculty. I joined, and we had 1 year training here in campus, and we had about 10 days also visiting the Minnesota University and looking at their active learning programs and how they are applying these techniques. I've been always interested in teaching and also environment studies, and this was really a nice actual experience for me. We do also offer different programs here in APU. One of those are actually field studies to different countries, including Iran. So I already took a APU student to Iran twice. This is a picture we took in the south part of Iran. We are also having a lot of actually engagement and active exchange programs with community. For example, our students are attending very actively in summer festival, and also cleaning programs with our students as well. And as you can see, students are actively participating in internship programs as well. And we do have companies engagement in our education and research. I'm just picking up some very few examples. Amita is one of those companies. Later, I will also talk a little bit more about these companies. So they came to APU and they gave a talk about creating of self-sustaining society with a community-based resource recovery system. And Mr. Kumano is CEO of the company. And he gave a talk, and then they also later joined our first IMAT APU International Education Conference, the network conference that we hold in APU in 2016. Mr. Kumano is here, and actually you can see that Michael is here. Yes, and you can find yourself also Dean here, and my colleagues are from IMAT program are also here. So as I mentioned, we offer field study program. We took our students to same company, Amita company, and we actually try to learn from the real value creator. We also visited their recycling plant in Kitakyushu. So I will again show you, we will have case study of Kitakyushu. That's why I put this picture here to show you of this visit. The Kitakyushu is very interesting city to study. This is the first Asian green growth city reported by OECD. And we already several times had actually field study for our student to this city. This is actually this summer. Me and Professor Chen have taken 23 students for case study, for field study to this city, to Echo Town and the other places of the Kitakyushu. And our students are actively taking part in volunteer activities with community. And this is our IMAT student, Ulrike. She already graduated from our program. She's doing now, she's in IFAS and doing her degree in IFAS as well. And these are actually kind of result of our student collaborating with community, cleaning the river for the restoration of the habitat of fireflies. As you can see, over the last 4 years, we don't have the data for 2018 yet, but the number of the fireflies has been increasing. So later, if you have time, please watch this YouTube that one of our students, the leader of this group, has made based on her experience. Okay, so then I just briefly explain about our university and our programs. And let me start with Japan. I don't know how many of you have traveled to Japan. If you haven't, I would like to invite you. Please do visit Japan and also to visit our university as well. So Japan, the population is about 126.8 million people, and GDP for 2018 total is about $5.6 trillion. This is the fourth actually ranking. Per capita, if you look at it, is about 44,550. 27th actually is ranking. And Human Development Index, if you study about that, you can see that it's 19th, is really relatively really high. And there are, so it's a developed country, and if you compare the environmental issues they have in this country with countries like Iran or some developing or underdeveloped countries, would be a very big difference. But still in Japan also we do have some environmental challenges and issues. Climate change is causing some, for example, this year we had several very strong typhoon that was very exceptional. We haven't had this. We are having more and more landslides, and we do have ocean plastic pollution problem. This is the picture I took myself after actually a storm. You can see that usually this beach is really clean. You don't see any of this plastic waste, but after typhoon, after some storm, you can see that we have these issues and they will come to the shore. Again, volunteers will go and clean. So Sustainable Development Goals is actually one of the agenda for Japanese government as well. I will come back here soon. So I think we all get together for especially number 4, quality education. We for IMAT partner and also APU also, we are all contributing to this quality education. So I'm personally interested. I didn't talk about my research. One of the research I'm very interested in, and I'm doing that, is about environmental education and awareness. So relatively high environmental awareness and environmental attitude and behavior can be observed in Japan. Probably you have heard that in Japanese school, they don't have any janitor, and then the kids learn to clean after themselves. And this is a Mottainai, actually no waste society. It's coming from Shinto practice. Probably you have seen some of this picture that kids are cleaning after their lunch, and they are not waiting for anybody else to clean after them. So environmental awareness, if you want to know what's the meaning of environmental awareness, this is the state of external knowledge, and then being conscious about the surrounding in their life and work, and which this will influence people's development and behavior. And these changes can be seen in 3 elements: motivation, knowledge, and skills. So these are from Harju and Ati that has explained the environmental awareness. So going to sustainable cities and eco towns. So in Japan, we call them eco towns. Some parts, they call it sustainable cities. So since we are talking about cities, let's just look at how many people are living in cities. When we are talking about the urban population, how many people we are talking about, and why should we put some emphasis on studying about this? And if we want to have a sustainable society, why we should start with the cities? So then we know that this is the percentage of population living in the urban area, as we can see here. This is from UN data booklet 2018, and then the urban population is rising all over the world, and they said that their study is actually predicting that 85% of this global increase of population from 2015 to 2030 is going to happen in Africa and Asia. As you can compare these two actual graph, you can see that we will have more of this increase in Africa and also in Asia, 85%. So well, cities are very important, actually, part for our settlement, because we need some place for our settlement. They are actually place for our homes, for our working place, and also the community centers are over there. Buildings are also very important in cities, because we usually use these buildings to protect ourselves. For example, in case of, I don't know, for example, it's cold or hot, and then this is the place that we can have our comfort. And these are very important energy end use sector. The study shows that about 40% of primary energy consumption is happening in the buildings in cities. So then when you talk about sustainable cities or eco-towns, what are we actually trying to sustain? We want to live within our ecological limit. And what makes an eco-town an eco-town? By reducing CO2 emission and ecological footprint. After reduction of these two, we can call a town eco-town or a city eco-city. But how is it possible? How to reduce environmental impact of a city? So let's just briefly go through some of these. For example, for housing and construction and maintenance, we need to actually have a plan to design a healthy neighborhoods. We have to look at the energy consumption, transportation, food, consumer goods, government business service, water, waste, and green infrastructure. These are only 9 items here. It looks really easy when we are writing it, but if you look at a city, if you just imagine how many actual layers and how many parties and how much planning you need to have involved in this, you can just imagine how this work, how big this actually project can get, and how much planning and implementation and going back through the planning we need to do. So then, so did you know that we have a World Cities Day? Is October 31st, 2013. UN actually established this day. So the UN General Assembly decided to have this day. And then because they believe that cities are epicenter of economy, market, and cultural identity of each culture. And also cities are generating wealth, and they are actually contributing to improve living standard. At the same time, providing the density, interaction, and network that makes them, that help us to be creative and productive. And this is really interesting to know that the 2018 theme for this World City Day is building sustainable and resilient cities. And hopefully this actually brings more attention and more awareness toward the eco-town and sustainable cities. So then let's have a case studies of eco-towns in Japan. How many eco-towns we have in Japan? So before that, let me just show you what Minister of Environment, Japanese Minister of Environment has in their homepage. They are talking about when first time they started having eco-town and giving certification, 1997, and they went toward the zero emission concept. And they want the cities to go toward a path that the waste from one industrial sector can be utilized as a resource for another industrial sector. No waste, towards zero waste. And if one city wants to be certified, what they need to do, they need to go under approval of the prefectural government, and they need to have approval of the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry as well. So as you can see, this is a kind of rather long process. So far, as November, 2018, and by now we have 26 towns certified as eco-towns. And this is Kyushu. This is the place that our university is located. This is the island that our university is located. And in our island, we have already 3 eco-towns: Kitakyushu, 1997, and if I want to start with the date, so we can see that Kitakyushu, Gifu, Ida, and Kawasaki were the first actually being certified. The first one was Kitakyushu, but the same year, the other 3 also have been certified. And then in the Kyushu, we have two more eco-town, Omuta City and Minamata eco-town. And I don't know if you heard about Minamata. Minamata is a small town actually in the same island. Has been, I don't know, is it appropriate to say famous for Minamata disease? The name has been actually reached to the globe, where we know this city because of the disease that people have been suffering. So due to the pollution. So almost the same time Kitakyushu was suffering from the pollution, Minamata also was suffering. But in Kitakyushu case, they were much more luckier, I think much luckier as I can expect, because the fish died and people couldn't eat highly contaminated fish. But in Minamata case, unfortunately, people were eating the contaminated actually fish. That's why the disease happened, and so many people actually have suffered and still are suffering, right? So, but after that, they have improved, and now in 2001, Minamata also has been certified as eco town. So then, let me start with the Kitakyushu Island. So Kitakyushu Island is really actually, so the ranking, as you can see, the land area is 11th in Japan. Population is 10% of the population of the Japan is here, and 10% of GDP and GRP is here. And their International Department of Kitakyushu Bureau of Economic Trade has put this one actually in their homepage, and they are comparing themselves to actually another internal comparison of the gross regional product with other countries. This is Kyushu, is about 431 billion US dollar, and it's a little bit less than Taiwan. And we have a Taiwanese student here. This is the beauty of APU. I'm here. I'm from Iran. 493. Do we have anybody from Norway? No, not today. So Belgium, Poland, and Sweden. So Austria. So then Kyushu is here, and this, as you can see, they have relatively a higher the GRP, so gross regional product. So they have also very advanced research facilities. I'm actually just showing you the and then they are closely working with the business and also local people and government as well. I will come back to this point in a minute. This is for Kyushu. And when you go through the report of this ministry, you can see that for International Standard Educational Institute is really happy for all of us that APU is reported over. The only university reported over there was in their report was APU. So as I mentioned before, we have 3 eco-towns registered in this island, and Kitakyushu 1997, and Omuta, and then Minamata in 2001 have been certified as eco-towns. And Kitakyushu, as I mentioned, was the first eco-town being certified in Japan, and is home to about 30 recycling enterprise, and has the largest eco-town in Japan. And we have also Kyushu Recycle and Environmental Industry Plaza, K-RIP. So sorry, I don't know why they put it RIP. They should be more careful with the abbreviation, right? K-RIP. So supported by Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry for environmental related project using industry academia. So they usually have very close collaboration with industrial academia and governmental network. So let's go back to case study of Kitakyushu. So the history is shows us that in 1960, this is how actually the smoke looked like from the factories. And then if you look at this one, for example, the bay, the water, as you can see, is highly contaminated. There are a lot of actual waste. The color is different. It's not really clean, and it's not blue. You have yellow color, red color as well. So then let's see together from 1960 to 2018, recently, within how many years? About 60 years, what is happening? Less than 60 years, what has happened, and how the city, the sky and the sea in this region has changed. Major companies in Kitakyushu are actually Nippon still. I don't know if you know about the name of Japan. Japan in Japanese is called Nippon. So this is the steel company, which is very actually important company for Japanese economy. And we have metal company over there, some chemical companies, electrical company, and also Toto. Probably you have seen it in Japan. This is one of the labels that almost every day, several times we see it. So sanitary and then toilets and washings are, this is very big companies, and it's very international company, and now they have a lot of branches all over the world. And Toyota and Nissan also have some plants also in Kitakyushu. So history shows us that they started Yawata work in 1901, and this was the first national work in Japan. We visited with our student, and then we learned that so many of the technologies actually at that time came from Germany as well. So this was the beginning of modernization of Kitakyushu industry. But as you can see, I showed you the picture before as well. The smoke, they called them at that time rainbow smoke. They were kind of sign of development. And then but the problem at the same time was that it was really, the air was polluted, the water was polluted. And these are the picture of those days that you can see that the kids have some allergic reaction. The skin also was actually very different. We visited the place. I visited Kitakyushu several times already with our student. The environmental museum, the manager of the environmental museum once told us when she was a kid, she went for a ski trip with her school to Nagano from Kitakyushu, and she was very shocked when she saw the snow being white. And she told the people, why your snow is so strange? Because Kitakyushu snow is different color. They said, what color it is? It's gray and toward black. And she was very shocked why Nagano's snow is white. So because her perception was that the snow should be this color. And children, as I mentioned, had a lot of allergic reaction and they were suffering. At the same time, it's a really complicated case because at the same time, probably the father of this family, the husband of this family, was working in one of these factories because they moved here because of their work in these companies. So as I mentioned, river were highly contaminated. We had some contamination in the river, and then we're also contaminated by the industrial sector, sewage system as well. And then the air was not clean, river water was not clean, the sea water was also not clean. So then the pollution actually kind of brought citizens, and later the partnership of citizens with the local government and later with private companies. If you look at this graph, actually, I already put the source of all of these slides. And I wrote, adopted and modified actually for some of these slides. And I want you to see how I have modified it. It was not really easy process for them to have a partnership between the citizens and the local government and private company. This is a good lesson from history for the countries like Iranian, for example, or other countries who are facing these issues and challenges. So what happened was that, as you can see in this picture, females, you can see a lot of females, right? A lot of ladies here. And these are school mothers. They found that their children are suffering from allergic reaction. They cannot sleep really nicely at night, and they have some rashes on their skin as well. They decided to educate themselves. They invited some, for example, a professor or some professional to come and teach them about the pollution, especially air pollution. There are a lot of very nice pictures in environmental museum in Kitakyushu showing that how mothers were studying and actually measuring the pollutants inside their city. They were visiting the companies as well. And this was actually the slogan they had: we want our blue skies back. The mothers started this actually a movement by requesting their blue skies back for their life. But I think this was really relatively peaceful actually request, because they couldn't make it other way since their husbands were working most of their life, were dependent directly or indirectly to these industries. Anyway, so this is a very successful case of partnership between cities and local government, because local government gradually got actually they got attention of the local government. Then they went together to the private companies and requested them to change the practices to a more to a cleaner actual practices. So these all paid off actually, and that's why after 1960, as you can see present, they already have their blue sky back. They already have the clean and blue bay and also ocean back. So from that highly polluted, within 50 or 60 years, they already have this cleaner, much cleaner and really nice actually city. So just give you a very brief how to say evidences of this change that has been possible through the economic development. So they simultaneously, parallelly have done improvement of the environmental sector together with the economic actually development as well. But this is about the sulfur oxide. You can see that it was really high in 1986, but they parallelly continued economic development means that this is showing you the shipment value of manufactured goods is continued to grow, but at the same time the pollution, which in this case is sulfur dioxide, declined over the years. From 1968 to 1980, you can see that it's going down. And energy saving as well in different sectors. So you have the data for paper, iron, steel, cement, and petrochemical. As you can see that they also started saving energy from all of these sectors. So then the project that they have, so in Kitakyushu, the main focus of their project is establishment of social system that can be based on recycling actually concept. So they have the local governmental support, and they also want to have the fundamental research over there. They want to have the development of the technology, and at the same time they want to have the industry also over there as well. So the whole project is going toward the cooperation between all of these parties over the recycling actually community. And so they want to actually have the recyclable product. They want to have a green, for example, purchase, but they all will be through, all of this step will be supported by local government. And also for the technology, for the education, for the research and industry as well, they want to support each other, and they will at the same time have the support of the local government. So there are some laws in Kitakyushu related to recycling. So they want to produce goods that can be recycled. And as you can see that this is a kind of giving you the history, how they try to develop these laws, recycling and packaging law. And for example, for PET bottle and then for other plastic paper, they started having from 1995, and then gradually they actually fully enforced that in 2004. And then for home appliance recycling law, they started from 2001. Food recycling law actually started 2001 and then partially revision in 2007. They started having construction material recycling law in 2002, and end-of-life vehicle recycling law 2005. Small appliance recycling law is actually in 2013. So as you can see, this is how they developed their laws for recycling. And then they also have Kitakyushu Eco Premium. This the project is mainly for labeling and recognizing those goods and technology and industrial activity that are actually contributing to eco product and eco services. And these will be identified, certified, and designated as Kitakyushu Eco Premium. And they already have selected about 167 cases as eco product, 41 cases as eco services, 208 in total up to 2017. So what are the advantage of those products or services being recognized as Kitakyushu Eco Premium is they will be certified, and then there will be some catalog for them. They will be promoted as Eco Premium, and there will be some regular exhibition and Eco Town Center. This is the Eco Town Center actually that we also visited with our student, and then there will be also promoted in exhibition that they have usually for environmental trade fairs. So then the subsidy, because when we talk about Ecotown, we know that there will be actually some, they need some subsidy because there will be some cost for the city to bear, especially the initial investment. So how this is going to happen or is happening in Kitakyushu, they have the tax of the environmental feature. So then the budget for 2018 was about 50 million yen. So that 4 companies have been adopted to utilize this subsidy. And the target for them was waste handling, recycling technology, and technology for environmental protection and development, and then eco-friendly goods. And as you can see, that they are trying to expand their business, and especially in Ecotown Corporation, to a newly also to new business in the form of recycling as well. And they are planning, they are trying to give some subsidy to those companies as well. So Then Kitakyushu and public participation. This is another actually part that I'm also personally interested. I'm studying about that because if you want to have some of these cities successfully implementing these practices, you need public participation. How do you educate your public? What is the environmental education in Kitakyushu? Let's just briefly go through that. This is a very famous, actually, food in Japan. If you haven't visited Japan, you don't know. Is in summer. So they call it somen, and yes, they boil these actually noodles, and they put it in bamboo and with water, and the bamboo. What's happening? I don't know. But I think everybody's mic is unplugged. Okay, I did. Okay, sorry. So this is a very popular summer food in Japan that they boil some of these noodles and they put it in the running water inside bamboo, coated bamboo. And usually some person will actually distribute from here and with the hashi, the chopstick, you will take, and then the next person will take some and the other person will take some. If we don't have education for sustainable development, so this is actually the way they are showing the people that if we do not, this is mainly based on the very limited resources. If we have limited resources and we don't manage it properly, means that from first generation to the second generation and third generation, then as you can see that there is nothing left over there. And poor grandchild is gonna stay hungry for the rest of the day probably. So this is how, when we invited them from Kitakyushu, actually a city office, to come to APU to give a talk for our students before departing for the field study. So Miss Taketomi from Bureau of Environment came here, and then these are the slides she showed to our student and to show us that what will happen if we don't have a sustainable practice for managing our limited resources. And then for as I mentioned here, so for the education for sustainable development, let's look at how they are promoting this education for sustainable development in Kitakyushu. They have Kitakyushu ESD Council, and they are working to promote actually these practices both through the school education, by cooperation, local government and citizens, and with non-profit, so NGOs as well, and NPOs as well, non-profitable organization. So just briefly going through some of their practices, what they are doing is that for the schools, actually they are taking the schools to children, especially to visit some of these places. They have a catalog of their ESDs, and they have some lecturer to come and give us some lecture to the public as well. And then they also have some other activities. For example, they have workshop for the children to learn the importance of the environment. They also have a lot of activities to promote the local vegetables and show the students about and the lessons about the food waste and how to manage them. They also have other activities for university student. As I mentioned, APU student also together. We already visited there as well. And I don't know how much you know about Japanese actually society. Usually we have mascot for everything, right? So this is their mascot over there for their activities. And the mascot, they have two of them. And one is black and the other is white. And then they're in katakana, this means echo. This is echo in katakana, their mouth, if you can see, echo. So you need to practice Japanese language. After 90 years, I can just read this much. So echo, and then this means echo. So they are actually showing people how to separate, and these mascots are actually contributing activity in educating people and public. And then they actually try to challenge the kids as well, the children, to find out the problem, try to solve the problem themselves as well. They want to give some education, like education through the disaster prevention, environmental disaster prevention as well, and then they want to learn how to coexist with the society. So then the other activities are also, sorry, this is moving already. So they are, after they have a lot of activities, they already parallelly having a lot of activity for inside their own city for their own citizens, and also for corporate companies and with the academic sector as well, and government. But at the same time, also they have very good relationship with international organization as well. And I will, in few slides later, I will show you also what they are doing. With the business, they are actually also contributing to the region by CSR as well, through the CSR of the company as well. And they want the government to also pay attention to the social issues and also to solve those social issues. They believe that this is all possible through the education for sustainable development. So they have environmental museum. This is one of my favorite museum. Actually, whenever I go to Kitakyushu, I visit there and I take my student as well. It's really nicely organized. There are some NGOs and some volunteers responsible for managing this eco town, and really easy to learn from the history of the eco town, from the Kitakyushu. And this is actually the museum, environmental museum, and this is the eco house just next to it. And you can actually go and see eco house as well and learn from that one as well. They also have some life stage activities, because they want to educate their citizens about how to reduce the waste, what are the eco-friendly energy activities, what are green electric power, and zero food loss means what. So they do all of this education through actually the life stage as well. And then they also have, they ask kids to learn and attend some activities, collecting the garbage, putting in the garbage truck. They have some soccer event and picking up also garbages by some volunteers and the public as well. And then their education. This is also a very interesting concept. They have some environmental study books and textbook for the students as well. And for each level of study, they have one content of the environmental education. 2 cases of Kitakyushu is included, and very easy and fun read with photos and illustration are over there. They have 8 different textbooks related to environmental education. So, as I mentioned in the earlier part, the women in the Kitakyushu, the mothers were actually kind of a bottom-up activity, and they started this movement and bringing Kitakyushu to this level of actually becoming eco-town. And still, I'm actually following the mothers, the women's activity in Kitakyushu. They have a Kitakyushu Forum on Asian Women, and they also are looking at sustainable development goals, but this time it seems that they are mainly concentrate on the gender equality goal number 5. But I know, because I'm reading their report and I'm attending some of their talks in Kitakyushu, they also at the same time bringing actually women from other countries from in Asia, and they are also training them. And being in Kitakyushu means that definitely you will receive also a lot of education for sustainable development and environmental education as well. So international cooperation, they are very active. So they have been, as I mentioned before, reported by OECD, and they have been named as the first Asian green city, green growth city in 2011. And so the report of OECD was published in 2013 on this green growth city. And we have only 4 cities in the world selected as the green growth. We have Paris, Chicago, and Stockholm. And Kitakyushu is one of those. And this is the mayor of Kitakyushu. It's very interesting. He has been to APU and he hasn't changed a bit. He's exactly the same still. He was here last year and he gave a talk in Sukata Sensei's class. So Kitakyushu International Environmental Corporation is also, they are very active. So in 2018, they started Kitakyushu International Techno Cooperative Association, KITA. And JOICA, this is Japan's International Cooperation Agency. They have also their office in 1989 as well in Kitakyushu. And in our field study, we always stay in their actual guest house. They are very active over there. As you can see, they already actually accepted about more than 7,500 trainees from 150 countries. And they already also dispatched about 170, 180 experts to other part of the world to train also the other part of the world. Yeah, just give me a few minutes. I will just show you very briefly some example. They have been working closely with Dalian, China, and they try to do some development improvement of the water, air quality over there. 1994, this is how Dalian looked like. 2000, that you can see the difference, right? So 2001, Dalian was awarded Global 500, and then they also have this East Asia economic development as well. 10 cities in Japan with China and South Korea together. They are actually they have established this East Asia economic development. They are focusing mainly on manufacturing, environment, and distribution and tourism as well. So they also have worked very closely with Surabaya in Indonesia on the compost, especially compost and waste, because they have a lot of environmental pollution problem over there. And they have sent, I know the person who is expert on compost, they have been teaching people, this is actually the expert from Japan, to teaching the people in Surabaya how to make the compost and reduce the waste. As you can see, the amount of the waste going to the landfill has decreased. So they also try to help this city, Surabaya, with the not only waste disposal, but also generation and energy saving as well, purification of the water, drinking water, and drainage treatment as well. So they want, through this city-to-city collaboration, they wanted to help Surabaya to become a more sustainable city. These are kind of a little bit more brief explanation how to help Surabaya to become low carbon city, same as actually Kitakyushu. So, and as you can see, Amita is again here, the same company as I mentioned here. So Amita factory, they are working together with Kitakyushu in this collaboration. We also have a Cambodia case. Again, they have this collaboration with the Cambodian city, Phnom Penh. And they also started to have some collaboration in the case of water, for example, as well, water supply. And they also have a collaboration with Vietnam. And then they announced the city with the Haiphong city as a sister city. And these are a little bit more explanation, the detail that how they want to help this city to become low carbon city in this sector of energy, waste, and also prevention of preservation of the island, Katba Island. Sorry, I don't know where this island is. I've never been there. So then also, as you can see, the contribution in international circular economy is, so at least in the Asian area region, is really high as the first green growth city in Asia being certified. So their plan is to reduce 50% of their CO2 emission by 2050 and 150% reduction in actually in Asia as well. This is the main thing actually aim for Kitakyushu to reduce CO2 emission, not only within their own city, but also to help other cities in Asia as well to reduce this one, to reduce CO2 emission. They also are improving and helping China for especially air improvement, pollution. And these are the cities that you can see that Tianjin, Wuhan, and Shanghai, and Tangshan. Sorry, maybe I'm not pronouncing the name correctly. So these are a little bit more brief, detailed explanation how Kitakyushu is doing that. So city-to-city collaboration team, again, between Kitakyushu and these four Chinese cities. Current activities in Kitakyushu, and these are our emperor and empress till next year, May, right? He will be emperor. Right, in next year, May, he will be emperor. So they already visited. This is Kitakyushu, actually, Eco Town. This is the place we already visited as well. So then what they are doing is that they are recycling the metals, urban mining, and then in Kitakyushu. And these are the metals that actually made for the 10th year anniversary of their own Kitakyushu Eco Town. And what they are doing now is that they are recycling the metal and especially gold. And they are planning for Olympic 2020 to have the medal of the gold from actually the Kitakyushu recycled one. So this is a very good kind of publicity and a kind of also promoting society to contribute to recycling. So investment, as you can see here, so there are some kind of what are the aid for investment in Japan and Kitakyushu City aid for investment. So as you can see, there are some subsidies listed here. How much subsidy, how they can apply, what type of actually subsidy they can give to the companies for the enterprise to start. So as for example, they are listed here, very detailed. I don't want to go through them, but there are some companies that are located in this area and they are using these subsidies, and the city is constantly trying to give some sort of support to the companies that will be in this circular economy concept. To just summary and wrap up, the Kitakyushu and Environmental Cooperation, as you can see from the from micro to meso and macro, you can see that from their own city to city and also to other governmental partnership, they are contributing and they are actually taking an active role. And very briefly going through what I just explained, the history of 1901 from the first actually attempt to become industrialized by Yamata steel work toward actually having a lot of challenge and a lot of pollution in 1960s. This city has dramatically changed its policy and practices and became the first green growth city in the whole Asia, and is contributing very actively toward the zero or low carbon society, not only in Japan, but also in the region in Asia as well. So together, these are actually the picture I took in Kitakyushu's actual field study. This is the Kitakyushu Amita plant in Kitakyushu. This is how they are actually cutting the grass. They just have, I'm sorry, they don't own these goats, they rented these goats. I didn't know that in Japan you can rent goats. Apparently you can rent. These are actually how they are doing circular economy and controlling the grass over there. I hope that together we can contribute to circular economy and be a sustainable world citizen.